Welcome and good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Katie Cartman, the Director of Religious Education here at Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church in Houston, Texas. Our beloved community of faith, reason, and affection welcomes all to grow in mind and spirit as together we build a better world. If you are joining us for the first time this morning, we extend a special welcome to you and invite you to fill out our visitor card, which is yellow in the pews or a link on the YouTube, so you can receive more information about Emerson and our activities. Again, welcome to all. We are a church in many places, some of us here in the pews and some joining us on YouTube from home or wherever we might be. And our world is a different one than it was in early 2020. Our worship service has changed accordingly. We're giving people choices in the pews as to distance between families and whether or not they would like to continue masking. We've put a few offering baskets at the front and back of the sanctuary for people to drop off their offering throughout the service, rather than passing the plates. For those of us in the sanctuary this morning, let's take a moment, close your eyes if you want, to picture the dozens of friends, neighbors, and those we've not met yet who are taking part in this service on YouTube, either right now or later in the week as their schedules allow. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones so we don't hear them ringing later on. Following the worship service, folks in the pews may head out to the gathering place for snacks and beverages, perhaps head out to the courtyard and play. And what better way to start than from her singing one of the songs her mother taught her, our prelude.
Woke up this morning with my mind stay on freedom. Oh, woke up this morning with my mind stay on freedom. Oh, woke up this morning with my mind stay on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Walking and talking with my mind. Stay on freedom. Oh, with my mind. Stay on freedom. Walking and talking with my mind. Stay on freedom. Hallelujah. 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 Singing and praying with my mind. Stay on freedom. Oh, singing and praying with my mind. Lord, 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 stay on freedom. Singing and praying with my mind. Stay on freedom. Hallelujah. 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 Let's walk. Come on and walk, walk. Come on and walk, walk. Come on and walk, walk. Go with your mind on freedom. Walk, walk. Come on and 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 talk. Come on and talk. Because it ain't no harm to keep your mind. Stay on freedom. Oh, it ain't no harm to keep your mind. Stay
All right, Miss Fannie. Welcome and good morning. Good morning. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever your pronouns, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here. Okay, today we have Charlie lighting the chalice for us. Thank you, Charlie. I think we're starting to become a team. He was here last time I did something up here. The following words are from Tanya Marquez. Our lives intersect and intertwine. It is a wonder and mystery that our paths have crossed, that in the immensity of time and the vastness of space, we coincide here. I am in awe at the ways in which our lives intersect and intertwine, at the beauty we create when we gather. May our coming together make us more compassionate, more just, more caring, and more loving. May our hearts and minds be open to this offering. I am so glad you are here. Let us worship. Let us marvel at the miracle of being here right now and the mystery that has brought us together. Okay, please rise in body and or spirit for our opening hymn, Spirit of Life, song number 123 in the Gray Hymnal.
So you may know, I am obsessed with the human brain. How it works, how it processes. We've got a slide that I forgot to give you guys cues on, but brains are fascinating. They're especially fascinating when we think about how stories fit in and how they are remembered. Now, can I get the brains picture up on the big screen? It is a questioning thing. It wants to understand. And it sorts by pushing things into the frame it already has. You can be the smartest person in the world, but if something is outside of your experience, if something is outside of your cultural values, you may not get it. This happens to me sometimes when I'm listening to Buddhist stories because there's a cultural disconnect. I have to think about, what does this mean to these people, right? So, we're talking about frames. Second picture. What if you had in your brain a new frame that somebody handed to you and said, let's try to sort things to make sense with this? I am going to give you a legal example here. I am not a legal scholar. Not at all. But I can tell you who is. Kimberly Crenshaw, who's one of the people behind critical race theories, is one heck of a legal scholar. There is a TED Talk that will be going out on our social media at 1 o'clock this afternoon of her words, but I'm going to give you a paraphrase here in this time. There was a black woman who was trying to get a good job at General Motors. She wanted to do the best by her family. Thank you so much. I get art delivered to me on the chancel. She wanted to do the best by her family. She wanted to get one of those good paying union jobs. Totally reasonable, right? And she could not get hired. She was having a lot of problems. So she said, this seems to be an equal opportunity issue. She got a lawyer. It went to court. And the judge involved said, well, what's your cause here? And she said, this is an example of gender and racial discrimination. And the judge said, well, there are plenty of women working at the GM factory, so this is not gender discrimination. And there are lots and lots of black men working here, so this is not racial discrimination. See where I'm going here? Got these two kind of parallel tracks? In reality, sure, there were lots of white women on the secretarial floor at General Motors. And there were lots of black men on the factory floor at General Motors. There were no black women in either of those places. So Kimberly Crenshaw said, you know what? We call this intersectionality. A new way of seeing things. An intersection of racial discrimination and gender discrimination could possibly happen with the same person. The judge, unfortunately, did not have that frame. He'd never thought about things that way. What he saw was, you are claiming two kinds of discrimination that we do not see the numbers to support, and you can't make some sort of super class. You don't get to double dip on your discrimination. We are dismissing this suit. And then as kind of an afterthought, oh, I'm so hot, right, yeah. As an afterthought, he said, but there's a similar suit going on in St. Louis at the GM plant there of black men on the factory floor. Why don't you just go ahead and join their suit? Discounting the fact of her life experience of seeing that two things could happen at once, that somebody's struggles could be different from what this judge saw. Intersectionality. And in reality, this intersection is sometimes more complicated than just two roads meeting. Have you ever been to one of those intersections? I can think of a couple in Milwaukee where we have 3 or 4 or 5 coming together, and it's kind of a, yes, there are lights, but which ones are you looking at? What if you're not only a person of color, a woman, you're also disabled? You don't have the class advantages. You may be trying to find a job on your GED. It all multiplies. It becomes more complex. And For those of us who do have privileges in one or more of those areas, it means we need to use that person's frame to understand their story. In reality, what the world is about is our stories. What welcoming, which we hold up every Sunday morning in our opening words, what welcoming is about is hearing someone's story, striving to understand, and when we don't quite understand, thinking that maybe this is because my lived experience doesn't match theirs, and I need to be more open, more expansive, to listen, to understand, to trust that they know their lived experience, and that it's up to us to transform our brains, to look for those new frames, to get to an understanding that can lead to the greater love for all of us. Hillary?
Giving out of what is our own is a transformative act. As a community of faith, we collect an offering not for ourselves or our congregation, but to give to others, as a collective action of our community and as a way to live out our shared values. Please give with a generous heart to support our February Share the Plate recipient, the Houston Food Bank. The Houston Food Bank serves 1 million food insecure people in Southeast Texas. Not only does the organization put food on plates, but they help families achieve long-term stability through education, job training, and social service connections. And the remaining 25% of our offering goes to our ongoing commitment to interfaith ministries, Meals on Wheels, feeding Houston's seniors. We have 3 ways to give. You can go to our webpage for online giving, or you can put your offering in our baskets at the front and back of the sanctuary, or mail a check to the church. To the,
Hey, y'all. I'm Rocky, but my mom calls me Veronica. That was my birth name. I am Lisa Rockett's daughter, and I will be reading Embodied Connected Pleasure by Adrienne Marie Brown. Pleasure Activism is a book written especially for Black women and others whose experiences have too often been characterized by marginalization, shame, and systemic oppression, who haven't had access to pleasure or have been shamed for their pleasure. Brown writes, "True pleasure, joy, happiness, and satisfaction has been the force that helps us move beyond the constant struggle, that helps us live and generate futures beyond this dystopic present, futures worthy of our miraculous lives. Pleasure, embodied, connected pleasure, is one of the ways we know when we are free, that we are always free, that we always have the power to co-create the world. Pleasure helps us move through the times that are unfair, through grief and loneliness, through terror of genocide, or days when the demands are just overwhelming. Pleasure heals the places where our hearts and spirit get wounded. Pleasure reminds us that even in the dark, we are alive. Pleasure is a medicine for the suffering that is absolutely promised in life.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound. Let it resound. Loud as the rolling sea. I like this part right here. Come on. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Now we add a little something to it. Just encourage it. We're gonna take it to church later. Let's go. We'll keep marching, fighting till the victory is won. To all the brothers out there. Hold your head up, brother, till the victory is won. To all my sisters in the struggle. Keep believing, sister, till the victory is won. Till that day. Till that day comes. Let us march on. To victory. Till victory is won. Is won.
Please find a comfortable and grounded position, if you can and if you will, so that you might feel more connected to the earth which nourishes and sustains us all. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, and take a deep breath in as together we enter into a time of meditation followed by silence. And this meditation includes a little bit of movement, if you enjoy that. Feel the gravity of the earth holding you in place. Wiggle your toes as if they were roots. Roots connect you to the earth, lending you strength. Gently sway in the wind turning your body like a trunk of a tree, leaning this way and that, bending as the air pushes and pulls. What surrounds you may sway you, make you bend and feel unbalanced, so wiggle your toes. Know that your roots can hold you as you grow and learn. A tree is nourished by the soil and water. You are nourished by food the earth grows and the water it provides. You are cared for and loved by many people. Breathe deeply. Still yourself. Know that your roots are strong. Wiggle your roots. Let us enter into the silence together. Amen and blessed be.
Okay. Growing up, we didn't celebrate birthdays. I was in a religion that did not allow for that. But my mother, ever practical, found a way to acknowledge us. She had a ritual. Every year, and there were 5 of us, on her children's birthday, she would tell us our origin story. She would start with, on this day, let's say I was turning 6. On this day 6 years ago, and then she would tell me about the day's events. Now, how much she told me about the day's events depended on the age I was. So as we got older and moved into our own homes, we would get a phone call almost as soon as dawn broke. I'm not an early bird, but as soon, I knew the phone, that's Mom, it's somebody's birthday. And after we said hello, she didn't say hello. She said, on this day, so-and-so years ago. It was an intimate and unique experience that only she could describe, but it was also one that connected us to her. I love my mother's stories. I love people's stories, even the ones I wasn't in. And my mother loved to share these stories. She would talk about the joys and the heartbreaks she experienced. And as I grew older, I understood the vulnerability that comes with the sharing of a personal story. It made me appreciate her life even more. And I wanted to begin by lifting that up. My mother's name was Lillian, and so I just wanted to lift that up. And today, we will be lifting up another Black woman, Fannie Lou Hamer. Fannie Lou Hamer was born in 1917. That was actually a year before my maternal grandmother. She was the youngest of 20 children, born to sharecropping parents, Ella and James Lee Townsend. When Fannie was 6, she contracted polio, and that left her with a weakened leg throughout her life. She was 6 also when she started picking cotton, Fannie was a lover of books. She loved to read, but she had to quit school at the age of 12 to work in the fields full-time. Sharecropping was hard work, and the system, if you know anything about it, it was rigged to keep people indebted, keep workers indebted. Fannie's father purchased livestock and tried to grow some crops, but when the family left temporarily, they came back to find the livestock had been poisoned and the crops had been destroyed. Later in life, Fannie married Perry Pap Hamer, and they both continued to work as sharecroppers because of their limited opportunities. In August of 1962, I was 6 months old then, at the age of 44, Hamer learned for the first time, at the age of 44, 1962, that black people could register to vote. At the end of August, she was excited, of course, by the possibility of voting. She went to Indianola with 17 neighbors to register. Although Fannie could read and write, they all failed the literacy test. She would later say she had trouble comprehending the Constitution part of the test. On the way home, their bus was stopped. What was wrong? The officer said, "Your bus is too yellow." It was a school bus. The officer went on to inform Hamer's employer that she tried to register to vote. So he told her, either go down there and take back your application, your registration, or leave the plantation. She said, "I registered for myself, not for you." Of course, she was fired and evicted. Her husband stayed on, though. Like I said earlier, the opportunities were very limited. He stayed on to help the family financially. So Fannie leaves, and she goes and stays with a family friend. But then she hears trouble is brewing. So she left just in time, because 15 shots were fired into the home that she would have been in. In 1963, after returning from a voter's registration workshop, some of her companions got off the bus to get something to eat. Now, this is the 60s, this is Mississippi. They tried to purchase food at a local restaurant. Of course, they were refused service. And when Fannie saw them getting arrested, she got off the bus too. And so she was also arrested. While in jail, she was visited by a couple of officers, and they told her, "You're going to wish you were dead." So she was taken to another cell with two other male black prisoners, who the police instructed to beat her, one at a time. And it said that each person beat her until they were exhausted. This beating resulted in permanent damage to her eye, her legs, and her kidney. In 1964, Hamer, Ella Baker, that's another story, and Robert Moses formed the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. They formed this party as a means of confronting the voter suppression of Mississippi's all-white Democratic Party. At the Democratic National Convention, they demanded to be seated. Now, some of you may know, 1964 DNC, it was problematic to say the least, and Fannie was part of the problem. So, a compromise was offered. 2 non-voting seats. Hamer and the party rejected it. No. So when asked about her unwillingness to compromise, she said, if something was supposed to be mine 300 years ago, I don't want somebody offering me part of it today. Walter Mondale, who had been involved in the getting the compromise, he would later say that she wanted change, and she wanted it now. Fannie's steadfastness and resolute will didn't sit well with some of the other civil rights leaders. Now, remember, Fannie Lou Hamer was undereducated. She was Southern, all these intersections. She was black. They were black, but she was from the South. Well, I said that. She was Southern. She was a female and poor, a sharecropper. They found her directness and manner of speaking offensive, and they didn't want her to be part of the discussions. They didn't feel she should be representing the movement. Adam Clayton Powell, Jr., who was the representative of Harlem, and this is my favorite part, he asked her, "Do you know who I am?" So who he was a tall, academically educated black man who could pass for white. And he often served as national spokesperson in the civil rights movement. So that could be a little intimidating. But Fannie was not intimidated. She affirmed that she did know who he was, even saying his name. But then she asked him a question. How many bales of cotton have you picked? How many beatings have you taken? So this exchange represented her belief that those closest to the harm are most capable at finding the solutions. Hamer was not impressed by status, but rather she recognized the value of lived experiences. And although she understood the importance of voting rights, she was very practical and observant. And that's why people gravitated towards her. She used her agricultural knowledge to address issues of poverty and hunger. Remember, when she was growing up, the family's livestock and crops, which was their means of eating, had been destroyed. And so there was hunger involved there. In 1969, she founded the Freedom Farms Cooperative to address these issues. At its height, Freedom Farms consisted of 700 acres. Food was grown and housing was provided to the workers. Freedom Farms became unsustainable due to floods, droughts, economic downturn, and Hamer's failing health. And they shut down operations in 1976. Fannie Lou Hamer died on March 14, 1977. And while she's remembered for her resourcefulness, her compassion, and her love of gospel, it is the sharing of her lived experiences that's what put her in the spotlight. She brought attention to two societal ills that we still face today: voter suppression and state-sanctioned violence. So back to our stories. When used collectively, our stories, whether they're big ones or small ones, can lead to growth and show us a path forward. And so tomorrow, when I don't get that phone call, I would tell myself my mother's story, our story, the story of our shared history. Thank you.
I'm hijacking the mic, y'all. I've watched my mom be a pioneer. And while we're talking about uplifting black women, I can't think of a better person who deserves it more right here, right now, than my mother, Lisa Rockett. I have watched this lady tirelessly try to make a seat at the table for her family, for her kids, for her grandkids, and constantly be met with opposition. So, right here, right now, today, I want to tell my mom that I love her, that I appreciate her, and although she's not going to get that call tomorrow, she will get a happy birthday song today. All right, so on the count of 3, if we could all sing happy birthday to my mother, Lisa Rockett. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear mommy. Happy birthday to you.
That was not rehearsed, number 1. Number 2, when you bring your children to work, anything can happen. And number 3, the song itself. We'll discuss that later. Thank you.
Hymn 108.
The world is too beautiful. The world is too beautiful to be praised by only one voice. May you have courage to sing your part. The world is too broken to be healed by only one set of hands. May you have the courage to use your gifts. May you go in peace. Ashe, amen, and blessed be.
In just a moment, we'll be having social time here and on the Zoom. Today, we do have lunch bunch. I don't know where it is. The La Madeleine that is just nearby. Good luck with the construction. Next Sunday will be our Super Bowl of Caring, which is an awesome way that you can both give money to support the Houston Food Bank and have lunch taken care of with a wide offering of soups and salads and bread and dessert. And yes, we could use help with all of those, or you can just show up and throw your money in the soup pot, the separate soup pot, not the one with the noodles in it. Also today, right after the service, around 12:15-ish maybe, I don't know, there will be an usher and greeter training. So if you'd ever thought, man, I would really love to be one of the people who welcomes people here and helps get things set up, Mark and Dory will be hosting that, and I believe there is a table about it in the gathering area. And now for our postlude, one more time we get to hear the voice of Fannie Lou Hamer singing, "Keep Your Lamp Trimmed and Burning."
And the other one was, I used to hear him saying, "Keep your lamp trimmed and a burning, keep your lamp trimmed and a burning, keep your lamp trimmed and a burning. Oh, the work is most done. Sister, don't get worried. Sister, don't you get worried. Sister, don't you get worried. Oh, the work is most done. Keep your lamp trimmed and a burning. Keep your lamp trimmed and a burning. Keep your lamp trimmed and a burning. Oh, the work is most done."